of the most eye-opening experiences I've had in corporate was being part of a mass hiring initiative at my last corporate role before I retired. And if you stay into the end, I'll explain how we actually scored candidates, how hiring decisions really got made, and how one person in an interview panel can absolutely influence outcomes if leadership allows it. Now, at this point, y'all, I had only been in this role about 6 months, and I was invited to participate in a large hiring initiative. We needed to hire 160 technical analysts across several divisions. So it was me, my boss, someone we had recently hired, and another interviewer rotating in and out depending on their schedule. And let me tell you, the amount of interviewing we were doing was intense. The first week alone, we were probably in 5 to 8 interviews per day. Okay. Then after that, another 2 to 4 interviews a day for several more weeks. And what became very clear very quickly was interview fatigue is very real. And listening closely, because I'm about to get real with y'all. Okay, this is real bad. The process was extremely structured. We all received the same interview document. Questions were separated into categories: technical, analytical, communication, behavior, problem solving, and professionalism. And each section had multiple questions. So during the interview, one person would ask a question, the candidate would answer, everybody would take their notes privately, and then we would individually score their answer from 1 to 5. Very structured, very process driven, very corporate. Now, once the interview ended, we would immediately hop into a separate Teams call privately. And honestly, that's when the real interview began, because now we're discussing the candidate's answers, communication style, their confidence, examples, professionalism, and overall performance. Then we will compare scores. And let me tell you, this is where things got really interesting, because people rarely score candidates exactly the same. One person might have given this candidate a 5, while another person gave them a 2. Then a conversation becomes, why did you score them so low? What did you hear in that answer? I actually thought the response was strong. So the hiring decisions were not just one person saying yes or no. It was multiple people discussing from multiple perceptions, communications, preparedness, and confidence in a completely different way. Now, as I mentioned, guys, in the beginning, the process stayed very organized. But after weeks of interviewing, the structure slowly started deteriorating. People start skipping around sections, choosing random questions, asking follow-up questions based on their personal opinions or experiences. And this is important because consistency in interviewing matters. Some interviews stayed engaged, prepared, professional, camera ready. Others not so much. There were interviews where cameras stayed off. People looked distracted. Interviewers were clearly reading notes awkwardly. Energy was low. Professionalism shifted depending on the day. Meanwhile, candidates came in extremely prepared, professional appearances, strong communication, structured examples, clear answers, and honestly, some candidates perform incredibly well despite the panel itself lacking consistency. And that surprised me, because what I learned from being inside the process is this: candidates spend so much time worrying about impressing interviewers, but interviewers are exhausted, overworked, and inconsistent themselves. And let me tell you, trying to impress 4 people with different personality standards and communication styles, it's not easy, especially when everybody interprets professionalism differently. Now, after about 6 weeks, I declined to continue to participate because I could feel the interview quality starting to shift. And that experience taught me something important. Culture always starts from the top. And I learned this from my mentor before she passed away from stage 4. I learned this from her. It always starts from the top. If leadership becomes relaxed, the process becomes relaxed. If leadership lowers their standards, the team slowly follows. That's corporate reality. Now take a look at the screen and ask yourself these questions here. Because sometimes candidates walk in thinking I did terrible and actually scored very high. Other times candidates think I nailed that interview and the panel completely disagreed. That's what matters. Preparation, that matters. And understanding the process matters. So DM Rack to get started or reach out to us at www.riceresumes.com.